What's going on? All right, we've got Court Tuttle here, who is an SEO expert, not SEO, how a lot of maybe new bloggers might think how that's pronounced. How you doing, Court?
Doing really well. How are you guys?
Awesome.
Good.
Well, thanks for joining us today. SEO is one of those things that a lot of bloggers are just really clueless about, and I know I was clueless for a number of years. This one over here probably still is still a bit more clueless, but it's a work in process. She's willing to learn, so we appreciate you coming on and answering some basic and maybe potentially advanced SEO questions for us.
Sure thing.
Yeah, so I guess I'm going to start off with the questions. The first thing that I'm going to ask you, okay, so the people that, that are in my niche, a lot of times I get questions from people asking really if I could ask my husband, because they know that I probably don't know, but just, they're all like, know what SEO is. They've heard of SEO, they know it's important, but nobody understands, how do I start? And I think that's like kind of the first thing, just like with any project, like how do you ever get started? And just getting started is the hardest part, right? So What would you tell somebody who's kind of maybe in a situation like me, has a lifestyle mommy DIY home decor blog, who knows that SEO is important, but has absolutely no idea where to start?
Yeah, cool. Okay, so step one, I would say, is to become keyword aware. So I see this a lot in your space where people create amazing projects and take hours and hours and hours and hours, 30 hours for a project. And then when they post the project on their blog, they don't talk about what the project is. So they're not keyword aware. So say you take 30 hours like refinishing a kitchen table. Then when you post, so the fly is when you post it on your blog, if say your post title is "This beauty brings a tear to my eye." Well, you're not saying what it is. So that's a really big thing. If you're not aware of keywords and how people might be searching for content like that, then that's a big problem. So that's step one, I would say, is becoming keyword aware. So I would say, like, if you're starting a blog, or if you have a blog already, before you hit send on a post, you need to look at how would people in the future try to find content like that. So if your project's a table, like what kind of table is it? And I would be looking in the AdWords keyword tool, which is a tool Google has that allows you to check search volume and how much, how often phrases are searched for. So just being aware of what keywords are and what keywords there are that are related to your post is huge. And where do you start? That's where.
Okay, cool. I know a lot of people are still on Blogger as opposed to WordPress, and this is kind of a question that I get from people, and I don't exactly know the answer, so I thought maybe you would be a good person to ask. But Do you think that being on WordPress helps with SEO? Because a lot of times I know WordPress is better for a lot of other things, being able to customize and do all those kinds of things. Do you think it matters? So somebody who is wanting to really get into SEO, but they're still on Blogger, do you think that's something that's necessary to move to WordPress, or do you think that that's not a big deal?
Most people would say yes, you have to switch, but I don't think you do. It's not going to really make that much of a difference. My sister has a really, really popular site that's got a lot of search traffic, and she's on Blogger still. I would prefer she wasn't on Blogger still, but she still is. The ways you're going to get additional benefit by being on WordPress are more related to like the functionality you can get with WordPress. So like say you add a really popular forum to your site and a lot of people want to hang out there and come and ask questions and come and talk to other people. Well, that's going to generate links, and it's going to generate, people searching for your brand in Google, which is a huge quality signal. So because of that stuff happening, you probably will get more traffic via SEO, but it's not because the platform in itself is stronger for SEO. It just allows you to do more things, which will help with your SEO. For example, one thing is just having like a hover Pinterest button, for example, or like just a Pinterest button next to all your pictures. That's really hard to do on Blogger, and most people who are on Blogger don't have that. So you're missing some sharing that could be happening. You're missing getting links back from Pinterest, and you're missing all those people who find you on Pinterest who could, potentially be on your site, hanging out, searching for your brand, linking to you. So you miss all that stuff, but it's more to do with like the functionality of it than it is just being better in general for SEO. Because if you just use the functionality that you can get on Blogger and you just did that on WordPress, it's not going to be any different at all.
Yeah, that's a great explanation, because I know I get that question a lot, and that really explains it. So I know for me, I feel like I'm getting better at the keywords, kind of like researching what I need to be titling my posts and my URL structure and my pictures and including it in my content. How important are link backs from people? Because I know all the time I get people that will link back to a project, but instead of linking back to, say, check out this home office organization project and linking the home office organization, they say, check out this home office organization project here, and the link is here. How important is that it's actually the keyword and not some other random word like here?
Not very.
Really?
Yeah, so I did a case study recently where I wanted to test that. So I did it. I tested that with a brand new site. So I started a brand new site. I did it around the keyword phrase 650 credit score. And the reason I picked that phrase was because it's in a spammy niche. It's a hard to rank for world. Like getting ranked for finance related things is harder than it is to get ranked for a lot of other things because there's so many spammers out there. So I wanted to test it in that vertical. So I set up a brand new site, and I started getting links for that site, and I wanted the links that I got to not be keyword anchored. So all the links are like click here, or just thebrandname.com, or like the url.com. So that's how I did it. And I only got one link that was anchored with 650 credit score out of 14 links. So it took about 2 months for that site to show up at number 2 in Google for 650 credit score with basically no anchored links. And they weren't even like, I don't even have links that are like 650 credit score help, they're not keyword anchored at all. They're like click here, mybrand.com. So what really matters is the relevance. So like what page are they linking from? So if they're talking about your project and they're using those words in that post, and then they link back to you with here, that still provides a ton of benefit. And another case study that I want to do now that I have done this is I kind of want to ruin it by linking to it with a lot of anchored links. So the Penguin update, which is an update that happened last year, it tried to get rid of sites that did overly aggressive keyword anchored linking. So if you have a site or a page on your site and all of the links pointing at that page are using keyword anchors, so they're all like, I can't remember the example you gave now, but they're all using 650 credit score in my example. Google will get rid of that at some point. Once it crosses like a certain threshold, it has too many links that are anchored with that phrase, Google will get rid of it. And that's what the Penguin update is about, because they feel like you're being manipulative if all of your links are that way. So they're doing you a favor if they do that really now at this point. 2 years ago that was different, but now most of the time that's what you're going to want to see. It's better, it's safer.
Gotcha.
So now that we're kind of on the more technical side of things, something that I've been really focusing on, and I've been also nudging her to check out, is the whole Google authorship. Setting up the Google Plus profile. And so now, I've guest posted on like some big sites like Huffington Post, like Morningstar, Bankrate, etc. And they've been able to set me up with an author profile on that site. And then I link, then I'll link to that on my Google Plus profile page. How much relevance do you feel that has? For example, so I'm also developing a life insurance site, and my Google Plus profile is all over that. and do you think that helps in search engine, when you have an author that's, found on various blogs and, some big media sites, do you think that helps out a lot via search?
It helps for sure, and here's what really matters is as time goes on, it's going to help more and more and more and more and more. I think at this point, Google hasn't really figured out how to use that 100%. Like Google's still using links a lot. So who's linking to your site? That's the big thing. That's still, I would say, over 80% of it. But authorship, Google sees that as their way to stop looking at links as much. It's going to be more about the author than it is about the site in general. So because they see that really good authors do that. They write articles for a lot of places. They write articles for, news publications. They have probably a few blogs. They have articles on Google Plus itself. So they want to be able to track who are the best authors. And so it's going to make it so that you're going to have to be able to get press and write for news publications, and people who don't, it's going to become harder and harder and harder to just establish your site via getting linked to. So right now, I wouldn't say that it's a huge thing, but you got to prepare now, because a year from now, 2 years from now, that's just going to creep up and up and up and up and up as a quality signal. It's going to get really hard to live without that.
Kind of expanding upon that, do you think it's worth the time? So some of the other personal finance bloggers in my niche that I've guest posted for, on several occasions, we just started setting up author profiles in each other's blogs. So now instead of saying, this is a guest post by, Jeff Rose with a link to my site in the byline, I'm actually an author on their site. It's something I've not mentioned this to her yet, but do you think that's something that she should start considering? Because now she has her mommy, DIY niche, where she guest posts here and there. Do you think it makes sense for them to start setting up author profiles in each other's blogs so they do contribute, that there's that author profile?
I think that's really worthwhile. The thing that you have to be careful with is, so you only want to associate yourself with quality sites in that situation. So if you are, if you set up an author profile on a site that really just isn't that good, then it's going to have the wrong effect. Yeah. So as long as everywhere that you contribute and are willing to, be an author for is high quality, then that's super worthwhile and really, really smart.
There you go. Get on it.
Just something else I have to learn, right? I know that one thing that we have been trying to do is we've been trying to go into analytics and see, what keywords we are ranking for, and then trying to see if we can incorporate video back into those posts that if maybe they don't have video. How important do you think it is to have video in there? I mean, is that just like one more thing to help you, or do you think it really matters, or?
I think it matters a lot for stickiness. So if you can get a person to watch a video, it's just that much more time they're going to spend on your page. And that's a quality signal. Just being able to keep people around, hooking people, getting them to click to other pages in your site, getting them interested in what you do, that Google tries to track that. That's what the Panda update was all about. How do we track, quality, and what things can we look at on the site that show that there is quality here? And that's one of them. If people come to your site, they find you via a search engine, they come to your page, they immediately click back out, that's a quality signal. And Google can track that and they can see that. If you have a video that's 5 minutes long and they click the video and watch it, it's a big deal because that's 5 minutes. Even if they click out, Google knows that they stayed for 5 minutes. So as far as quality signals, it's really, really big. I haven't been able to see it increase the amount of search traffic you can get yet from Google. Just having a video on the page, I don't see a correlation yet with that making your page rank better necessarily. But in the long term, you've got to make your site sticky. You got to make people use it, or Google will eventually try to get rid of you, or they'll try to at least they'll try to just lower your ranking so you don't get as much traffic. So it matters a lot for that. Another thing is just, so a lot of people don't know that YouTube is the number 2 search engine in the world. So that's a big deal. It's much bigger than like Yahoo, for example. So just being in YouTube, being able to get searches on YouTube and having people watch your videos, that matters a lot too. So it's just one more search engine that you get into that you can't get into if you're just doing text. So I think that's pretty significant.
I know one thing, I was testing, trying to rank for a fairly competitive keyword in the credit card space. And for a little while, maybe a month or two, I was actually like the number 6 position via my YouTube video.
Yeah.
And I didn't really focus more on it, so I ended up dropping off. But it was kind of, I was just testing to see if I could actually target a really competitive keyword. And literally, it was like 3 days upon publishing it, on YouTube, and it was there. And I've been doing that, some with good financial sense, but other projects are going on. But we try to do that as well. I mean, the stickiness factor, plus it's just that much more of a resource, for people, aside from SEO.
Yeah, I think people don't understand the importance of YouTube. So that's one thing that we've been focusing on or trying to focus more on is video, but video makes people so uncomfortable, so it's hard to get people to understand that video is important. But like you said, I think it's super important.
Well, that's why it's such a big opportunity, because a lot of people don't want to do it, or they don't have the equipment to do it, or they're shy like me and don't want to do it. But that makes it that much bigger of an opportunity. YouTube's so much easier. So I made a video around 650 credit score. It's the worst video ever, so don't look for it. But, so I made a video just because I wanted to see what's going to happen. It's a cheesy video. It's terrible, but like almost immediately it was ranked on page 2 of Google. I think it's still there. It's like number 13 or something with nothing, like without doing anything.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's just in Google, and if you search for it in YouTube, it's like number 2 for that. Not that that's like a really significant keyword phrase on YouTube or anything, but it just shows you like that there's a big opportunity there. It's so much easier to do it in YouTube than it is in Google, and YouTube videos naturally rank well in Google. So if you're willing to do it, it's just a lot easier to get into that and get some traction than it is just creating blog posts and trying to get those to rank, because that can work really well, but it's just harder because there's 1,000 times more people doing it.
Right, exactly. So you were talking about like one of the first things to get started is be keyword aware. What else would you say is like some of the biggest mistakes that you commonly come across? Like when you come across someone's awesome blog post and you're like, why didn't you do that?
Yeah.
Can you share some of those insights?
I've got a long list of those.
Don't come to my blog then.
Okay. So here are a few. Number 1 is not using the keyword in the title. So when you post, you have to use your keyword in the title. But number 2 is not making a cool title, because usually people do it either one way or another. They create a title that's kind of like emotionally charged that people would like, or they just put the keyword itself by itself. And those are both big mistakes, because if you leave the keyword out, it's really hard to develop relevance and show up in Google. If the title is just the keyword, then it's not exciting to other people, and they don't share it, they don't link to it, they don't talk about it. So either way is bad, and you have to try to figure out how to do both. You have to make a title that will appeal to people, that will kind of bring people in, but it's got to have the keyword in there too. So those 2 things matter quite a bit. Let's see.
Can I stop you right there for real quick?
Yeah.
Because a question I have, so something that I try to do on my blog, and maybe you'll correct me on this. So let's say, for example, my keyword is Roth IRA rules. Like that's my keyword. Mm-hmm. So when I I wrote a blog post as Roth IRA rules. That's the actual URL. So my blog name / Roth IRA rules. My title is like 7 things that you must know about the Roth IRA. You know, and like that's my title. But then also using the SEO plugin, or actually it's a thesis, so I actually changed that in the description title is Roth IRA rules. You know, but the title, the actual post, so people see it on my blog, is trying to be that catchy, you know, creative to make people want to share it. Do you think that you know hurts the SEO potential by doing that?
No, I don't, because so what's showing up in Google as the title is Roth IRA rules, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so you're covered there. You got to make sure you use that somewhere on the page. So if it's not showing up as the title on your site itself, you got to get it in the text somewhere.
Oh, it's in there.
I'm sure it is. So
maybe not in my blog.
That's fine.
Okay.
I have seen in some situations where just the keyword by itself is is what shows up in Google. Sometimes you might not get as many click-ins because maybe it's not as interesting as it would be if it was like Roth IRA rules : 7 things you can't live without, like something that's like
catchy. Yeah. Okay.
It's not gonna put you in a different position in Google, but sometimes you can get more click-ins. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
So that's like great. So just to recap and just so I understand. So you're saying that in your URL, obviously you need the keyword. And then if you're in WordPress, I'm guessing this doesn't work in Blogger. I don't know if Blogger has it. So in WordPress, your title can kind of be anything. Like you said, it's better to be creative and also include the keyword, but it doesn't have to be, as long as is it called meta?
It's actually, we use thesis, so it has like the little SEO, I can't think of the name now, but like the SEO block where you can change the title.
So
that actually will show up
there.
Correct. Now, for people that don't have thesis, there's a plugin, and Court, you might know it, but I think it's like SEO plugin or something like that, correct?
Yeah, all-in-one SEO does that.
Correct.
There's actually quite a few plugins that do that. It just makes it so you can change, so in the code of the page, it just changes what's called the HTML title.
Gotcha.
And the HTML title is what shows up in Google. It's the little clickable area in your listing in Google. So yeah, thesis lets you do it. All-in-one SEO lets you do it. It's just so you can show one thing to your readers and still show Google this is what the page is actually about.
I think we have a future blog post coming.
That's awesome stuff.
What it's all about. So.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry to get you off track.
No, that's great. Another big mistake that I see people make is not optimizing for image search. So, you know, I see this a lot in the creative world, like the DIY world, where they're doing projects all the time and taking pictures of things. And then they, you know, for example, they'll upload the picture and the name of the picture, the file name of the picture will be like DSC3061.jpg.
Or image-5736.
Exactly.
I see that a lot.
Exactly. So that's a mistake because that's an opportunity for you to say, this picture is, you know, a refinished white door frame or whatever. It's just, that's an opportunity for you to show Google what the picture is about. So a lot of people just don't do that at all. Some of them are starting to be more descriptive with their images now because of Pinterest, but there's still people who aren't. So, you know, just basic stuff like changing the file name to, you know, whitedoorframe.jpg and changing and using the descriptive words as the title and as the alt text. A lot of people don't do that still, and that's a big opportunity because Google image search is pretty big. And with some niches, that's more important than in other niches, but still can make a big difference.
Do you think it's important? So, say you do have a post and it has 5 pictures of a white door frame or whatever. Do you need to make each one of those pictures a little bit, name it just something a little bit different, or can you name them all the same thing? Like, what's your take on that?
I would look at the AdWords tool and I would see what phrases there are that people are looking for that fit with the image that you're trying to post. So I would be in the AdWords tool looking at white door frame just to see if, you know, maybe there's like people looking for the antique version. Maybe there's people looking for like a roughed up version, like there's probably different things people are searching for. So you want to be aware of what those are, because then you can use a different name for each one, and it's all true. You don't want to spam and be naming it stuff that it isn't.
Right.
But I would absolutely use different ones if there are different ones that fit in.
Okay, sorry. You're a wealth of information to me, so.
What's another one? Here's a big one. People don't. Links matter a lot, and they matter a lot coming from other sites, and they matter a lot from within your own site too. And I think people tend to, when they have blogs, most people just treat it 100% as a blog. Publish a new post, it goes on the homepage. That's it. Work is done. And that's a pretty big mistake. So I've done a lot of case studies where I've taken existing blog posts that get search traffic already, and I'll just go through the site, and I will find other posts that are closely related to this post, and I'll just figure out how to link the other posts to the post that I'm working on. And it's a no-brainer, right? Because if someone finds any of those posts, you want more page loads, you want them to click to other locations. You want to provide them with stuff that's related to what they're looking at. But the SEO benefit for that is really, really big, because it pushes more relevance to this particular post. So that means when you publish a post, you should be your first thought should be, after you hit publish, your first thought should be, what other stuff do I have on this site that is related to the post I just put up? Because if you'll go back and you'll edit some old posts, you'll link them to the new post, that increases the relevance of this post for those topics that are closely related to each other. Most people would never even think to do that. That's a big mistake, and I've been able to show that with case studies a bunch of times. That matters a lot.
Cool.
So that's a big one.
That's good. I know I can incorporate that today. It's on my list now.
Yeah, and it should get you more page views, because people will inevitably, people are going to find that stuff, and you want them to visit as many pages in your site as you can, and so that makes a big difference with that. That same concept would apply for getting links from other sites. Say you have a really important page in your site that matters a lot, like maybe it converts well to a sale of something, or people just like it, or it gets search traffic already. I would be using that same concept with trying to get links from other sites. And that could happen like via guest posts. That's probably the easiest way. But any links you can get from other sites that point to this page will make a big difference. Really, really big difference. And most people don't take it that far. They're just thinking, I just got to post new stuff, constantly post new stuff on my site. Well, sometimes if you have an important page, it would do you a lot more good to put a guest post somewhere else, have it link back to that page to increase the relevancy of that page. So that's something that people just don't really do it. If they do guest posts, they just link back to their homepage, which obviously is awesome too. It helps the whole site. But I don't see very often people doing that to help with relevancy of specific posts. And that's somewhere people can get a lot of traction.
Anything else?
I don't think so. Do you got anything else? Is that it?
My brain is fried. I can take no more.
No, that's good though, because I see it all the time. I see it with new bloggers, even existing bloggers. I don't link back to some of my older posts like I should. We do a pretty decent job, especially for some of my heavier affiliate posts. So we definitely have focused those, but always areas of improvement. Always areas to improve.
Yeah.
So if we have any other SEO questions, we know who we need to talk to.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
The man for it.
And just to share with our audience, what's the best places they can find you?
So you can find me on the blog builder. So that's just theblogbuilders.com. That's the best place to go. So I have the keywordacademy.com as well, but it's a membership site. So over there, I basically support the members. So yeah, come to the Blog Builders, so theblogbuilders.com, and yeah, drop me a comment or come to my contact page.
Cool, man. Well, we appreciate you coming on and sharing your SEO expertise.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Cool, man. We'll see you next time.
Yep, okay.